Hello all you wonderful people and welcome to Val di Sole, Italy. My name is Ben Cathro and I'm here with Pinkbike to bring you all the inside information before the Downhill World Cup this Saturday. What's the track like? What are the challenges? What are all the lines? Why is it so dusty? And is that Bermuda grass? Sit forward and get stressed. It's time to get inside the tape and give this black snake a little tickle. It's the track. It's called the Black Snake. That's what it's called. Last year, this track was as rough as anyone had ever seen it. Big holes, huge wheel-munching rocks, and a gradient which had riders on the brakes and cooking brakes most of the way down. It's a savage assault on the body and mind, and this year, after some intense rider feedback, they dumped several metric tons of moon dust in the holes to try and make it a bit more manageable for the riders. While moon dust is notoriously difficult to bind together, they did scatter some grass seed to try and overcome nature. It didn't work. After the first few runs of junior practice, ruts were cut in, blown out, cut in again, blown again. It was really challenging for riders to find consistency. But the general feedback is that it is way less brutal than last year, which is good considering the new semi-final, final race format this year. We'll see how much the track cuts up before then. Other than the extra material, a few diversions and chicanes have been added to change up the track enough to keep the riders thinking. With rain in the forecast for Friday, which is race day for juniors and qualifying for elites, things could get extremely spicy. Before we get to racing, you might want to know who will be there. Most of the riders who were sidelined in Lenzerheide are still out, but there is one who is back. Sasha Kim is someone you probably won't have heard of, but you will in the future. She's a second-year junior at her first year of World Cups and has been resting since a spill in Lenzerheide. Keep an eye out as she will be gunning for the win this year. British privateer and winner of WIN's Privateer Award, Taylor Vernon, will be sitting out this round after some knocks to the head at previous races. It's really great to see riders noticing the side effects of concussion and feeling that they can choose to sit out the following races without any criticism. One racer I was excited to see lay things down this year was Ethan Crack. He was pushing podium pace at the end of last season, but a crash in Lenzerheide bruised some bones in his wrist, and he's chosen to sit things out until it's fully healed. Canadian Seth Sherlock is in a similar position with a fractured scaphoid from a pre-season crash, which he only had diagnosed in Austria at the World Cup. He'll be back for Crankworx Whistler later in the year. Talking of Crankworx, Sam Hill had a bad crash last week at Crankworx Innsbruck and badly damaged his ankle, so he's jetted off to Australia for surgery and will hopefully make a return later in the year. On a more positive note, Reece Wilson is making his World Cup return after a nasty motocross injury to his leg. He's not looking to compete for a top result, he's testing his leg out and getting back up to speed and getting into the swing of things before World Champs in Fort William at the end of the year. It'll still be cool to see the Scotsman trying to figure out the dust up there this weekend.
Well, seen enough.
If I've missed anyone, let me know down in the comments. I'm not omnipresent, so I'm sure I've missed someone. Let's cut to Studio Ben. He's found a real nice section he'd like to tell you about.
Thank you, Outside Ben. So we are in the studio and I've not practiced how to do this at all, so it's probably going to be just as hectic as it was last time. So we are on board with Wyatt and we are checking out this Val di Sole track. We're on the top section and coming into here, we're going to start this segment at this little rock drop. And you can see there's a tricky turn. There is a little bit of a rut, which if you're confident, you can rail it and you can actually get high down the next straight, which looks a little bit like, not like that. It doesn't look like that. Let's go a little bit further down, get a better angle on this. Here, now we're talking. This is where we want to be. This is where you can draw stuff. If you're super confident, you get the balance right and you commit to the turn, you can go super tight, almost touch this pole, and then go high down into the next section. And that is an absolutely perfect line. Oh my God, I did it. But if you don't commit, and it is very hard because the ground is so loose and I saw a lot of people actually crashing in this rut, you can go a little bit lower. But then you do find yourself cornering all the way up to the next corner. Doesn't make a huge difference, but I'd say there's more risk of washing out on that lower line. If you can commit and get high, that's going to work well for you. Let's go a little bit further down. So you can see Wyatt, he takes the lower line, that is his preference, and he's making it work. Around this corner, and now we get into the meat and potatoes of this section. So for the astute among you, I'm sure you can spot at least a couple of lines here. So the main line that everyone started doing is going up here, taking off of this stump, and then landing on that dark patch of ground, and then heading off down into that next section. Very, very cool line, super direct. If you get it smooth, it is beautiful. But a hole actually started to develop on this takeoff, and it was causing riders to get some sketchy nose dives. So some riders started to take off just a little bit to the right. Same landing spot, but there's just a more consistent takeoff that was working really well. Some riders are just not doing that. They're going this way. They're jumping off the right-hand side and landing on the inside. It's really smooth. It's not as big of a commitment to do the gap, but you do end up with a much tighter turn down into the next section, which could limit the exit speed out of this section. Some people are even going down here. It's a little bit trickier to get into. Beautiful. That line work is excellent. It's a little bit tighter to get into, but you do end up with an even tighter turn at the end, but you have less impacts to deal with. I don't think it's going to be the fastest line, but it definitely works. And there is this line here, which I'm sure you have noticed. It's just the outside. And tell you what, if you commit to it, it can be really quick. You have to be very precise to get into it. There's less impacts to deal with. And potentially, it could have more exit speed. There's so many options on one tiny bit of track here. And rider preference does come into it. But I'd say the more inside lines struggle with that tighter turn on the exit. The middle gap line, really good. It's the kind of best of both worlds because it's not too tight, it's nice and direct, but you do have to commit to that gap. Watch out for the sharp rocks in the landing and make sure you take off in a spot where it's not going to kick you funny. And then that outside line, it's a bit tricky to get into and you really have to commit to the turn to make it fast, but it does give you a nice turn that you can arc all the way around. So Wyatt gaps over that nicely, and then in the corner, it's big kind of stepped rocky turn. There's not like nice support the whole way around. It's rock slabs with powdery dust in it. Very tricky to commit to and it's very easy to wash out on. So getting the speed just right is really hard. And then dropping out of that section and into the next off camera, which will be the end of this section that we're going to time. It is a very fast, very sketchy section, lots of loose dirt, bikes are constantly floating through it, hard to judge traction, and so many different lines to do. But which is best and who did it best? Thankfully, we have the technology. We're going to boot up the Ghost Cam and we're going to have a look who did this best.
The Ghost machine is fired up and Loris Vergier is the first man that's going to take on the Ghost, and he's coming through and he takes the fully inside line, but he swings out to the outside. That's a new line people are doing today after the rain. It's made it grippier there, and we've got the man himself, the world champ Loic Bruni. He's kicking poles and he is not caring, and he goes outside and then back to the middle and goes over the stump at hellish speed. So they both drop into the section. Bruni kicks that pole again. They're both on a similar line. They drop in, they deviate slightly from each other. Bruni's a little bit tighter and they match up, and they are neck and neck as Bruni swings to the outside. It's a lot longer going round there. Loris is clearly way ahead as he now dives to the outside. Bruni's got the straighter exit. He gets off the brakes. He's not having to corner now. He's gone the straight shoot. But Loris gets that corner really clean as he nibbles between the rocks. Bruni gets the wider line into the corner. Round the left-hander, Bruni's going to be going faster. It's going to be close. It's going to be close. And Vergier takes it by 0.03, but Bruni was moving at a fair rate of knots, so I reckon it would have been pretty close down that next straight. Now we got Charlie Hatton. He's been looking super strong all week, and he just had a really good qualifying run, and he goes outside to outside all the way around. That is a long way, but that average speed was high. And we got Joe Breeden, another UK rider. He's looking clean through there, and he chooses gapping onto the inside and holding it tight to the exit. That is the shortest way through this section. Let's see how it matches up. So they're coming in. They're both jumping up onto that high line, dancing on the edge of that netting that marks the course. And you can see they both hit the low scoop there, and now they deviate. Charlie's on the outside, but he's already way ahead. This inside line from Joe is going to have to be way quicker if it's going to make a difference. So look at Charlie motoring around the outside. That average speed is super high, but Joe is coming in. He's catching up, but I don't think he's going to have the speed to catch him on this section. They go into the left-hander. Lots of slippy routes that you cannot see, and out to the exit. Yep, Charlie Hatton's got it by 0.6. Now we got Finn Isles. He has been on a tear this year, and you can see him coming into this at hellish speed. Then he goes to the outside. We've not seen many people do that variation, and it looks like it's working well. And we're going to use Loris again because he was extremely quick on his line, that inside to outside. So we're going to compare the two, and let's see who's going to take it. So here we go. This is it. Who's going to take this section? The Melinda Apple sponsored straight shoot down through here section. It's Finn out in the lead. Look at him. He went through that first bit super quick as he sends it to the outside, but we know Loris is extremely fast on that more direct line. So they're both going to head to this outside scoop. And Loris is a little bit in front as he rails that turn. He nibbles between the rocks as Finn drops to the outside. He's going to have a wider line into that turn. And they're super close as they hit the left-hander. Finn's looking like he's in front, and he's going to take it. Finn by 0.36. Oh, an absolute hero. Canada wins the section.
Wow, that was super interesting. Who would have thought the ghost would have been that person that went fast? Right, back to outside, Ben.
Thanks, Studio Ben. I feel so informed about that specific section of track. Well, that's all the info I have for you building up to this epic race here in Val di Sole. Don't forget to watch the race this Saturday on the live broadcast. The link should be down below somewhere. I'll see you for the post-race story of the race video here on Pinkbike. Subscribe if you like bikes, and hit the like button if you like the noise they're making on the build site over there. It's really noisy. They weren't doing it when we started.